Hi everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Hallmark Plus More, where we watch and talk about shows, movies, mysteries, Hallmark ornaments, and anything else that floats our boat. So today we're going to be doing a review of the new show Matlock, Season 1, Episode 2. Hopefully you're just with me when we watched it together. There's just so much to talk about, so we're just kind of going to talk and review the episode. First, I always say this, but Kathy Bates was great. I loved this episode. We got to see a little bit more vulnerability of Matlock. She got a compliment from Olympia when they were working on the case together, and then she kind of tried to give kudos to Sarah, saying, "Oh, well, it was a team effort," and then Olympia kind of just snapped at her, and then made her stay in the car at the bodega instead of going in. So Maddie was like, why can't I go in? Stay in the car, stay in the car. So she did get out to take pictures of a couple girls that looked upset, like teenage girls, which Olympia got mad at her for getting out of the car, but that did show useful. They were able to go and talk to the girls and get more information about the case. And then later, she actually explained to Maddie, like, look, I need you to go to the bodega now and do this and this and this. And she was like, oh, okay, so that's why you didn't want me to go before. You didn't want them to know I was part of the legal team so that I could go back later on and help the case. So it turns out Olympia really wasn't angry at her, but it was all kind of part of her plan. However, she didn't really tell Maddie about the plan, so Maddie was a little upset, like, hey, what did I do to piss you off? All I've done has been helpful, and now you're telling me to stay in the car, and now I can't, go into the court. So that was kind of like she didn't understand that. And then when Maddie was trying to kind of relate to Michael's mom, and kind of say, hey, I know you're upset, but, sometimes as parents, and she just snapped at her, Michael's mom snapped at her. So Maddie kind of had a rough day with people snapping at her when all she tried to do was be nice and helpful. And be relatable. When you see a mom or a parent upset, you kind of want to relate, like, hey, we don't always know what our kids are into, and she didn't appreciate that at all. So Maddie did have a tough day. You kind of saw a breakdown to her husband, which was rough. And then again, talking about her daughter, I feel like everything she does kind of brings up those memories of her daughter. But in the end, I love that. When she was reaching for the condoms on the stand, I knew it. And I said early on, I think it was Charlie, when Charlie came into the courtroom and was so overly like, I'm here to support Michael. I will do whatever I can. Michael didn't do it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's guilt. He did it. Michael might have liked Ariana, but I don't think he was the one with her. I think, Charlie was. And it turns out I was right. It was Charlie. He was the one who did it. He was the one who was going to have sex with Ariana, even though there have video footage of Michael buying the condoms. It just didn't seem right. He either got the condoms for Charlie, or what they proved in the end was they doctored the footage and he didn't grab the condoms at all. So definitely think Maddie, of course, had a hand in winning the case. And then throughout the whole show, or this episode, talking about the dinner allowance. So at the end, when she puts the bag of the dinner down and kind of goes off on Olympia, good job, Maddie. You definitely deserve to stand up for yourself. I'm glad she did that. But she left the dinner. And so I was like, why did you leave the bag? You talked about it. So I was like, oh no, she left the dinner. But then at the end, she left the dinner on purpose. I was like, oh no, she's going to come deliver the dinner to her. And then she's going to get, she's going to get caught. Because obviously she doesn't live there. She lives in this big, nice mansion of a house. So kudos CBS. I like how you did that. You saw the limo come up to the house and you're like, crap, Olympia is at this little apartment in Queens. Maddie's not going to be there. And then, you open up the limo and she's not there. It's a box of pizza for Edwin, her husband. And they are at the apartment. So apparently Maddie has very much really put money into this scheme of being this other person. Her grandson just didn't make an online profile. I mean, Maddie bought an apartment or rented an apartment in Queens, furnished it, and had her grandson there, knowing Olympia was going to apologize and bring the food to her, mainly because the interns were probably going to remind her, like, hey, Maddie has talked up this this dinner allowance. I can't believe she left her food. You should bring it to her. So even if it wasn't Olympia, I feel like they knew it was because they wanted to get her passcodes. But still, kudos. I mean, she is one step ahead of them. But even though she kind of had this elaborate plan to get the passcodes, I like that she stood up for herself. I understand why Olympia did it. She kept Maddie in the dark because she knew later on she might have to use her. And I get that. She didn't want them to know Maddie was part of the legal team so that she could get that information. So I understand that, but I agree with Maddie defending herself. Like, look, you could have at least told me what your plan was. You didn't have to ice me out and then at the end go, see, I did trust you. No. That was kind of rude and in kind of the wrong way. You didn't really show that you trust me. You just showed that you can manipulate me and ice me out and then at the end say, see, no, I'm not going to compliment you. That was kind of wrong. I didn't appreciate the way she treated Maddie. So I appreciate and I'm glad Maddie was able to stand up for herself. Being of her age, being an older lady, regardless, no matter how old you are, you can be walked on. You know what I mean? 30s, 40s, 50s, 80s, however old you are, you need to make sure you don't allow people to walk on you and manipulate you. Because, Maddie, if you didn't stand up for yourself at the end, Olympia would have been like, see, I trusted you. She thinks what she did was okay, and she's going to continue to treat you that way until you put a stop to it. So I'm glad Maddie actually did speak up for herself. I loved that in the case. Like, I could kind of tell it was Charlie, but I wasn't sure how. The fact that they call him Creepy Jimmy, I wish they would have kind of explored that, because why would you call somebody creepy unless you kind of get those tendencies from them? So I'm definitely glad they were able to solve the case. I love that Micah was able to give Olympia the hug at the end. You know what I mean? Like, thank you for doing this. We didn't know about the MIT. We didn't know about the background, but as soon as the grandson said, hey, it looks real, that was when Maddie was like, the footage is doctored, which I kind of, like I said, throughout the show, I was like, it's Charlie. If he did really buy the condoms, it still doesn't mean he did it. I still felt like something was off there. So I definitely liked the way it concluded. And again, this is only the second episode, but at the very end, those last couple seconds, you're like, oh, Maddie, you are so smart. And Alfie, I think I said his name right. Alfie, the grandson. Brilliant. So in the first episode at the end, you find out she's really rich and her grandson is doctoring up this online profile of her. And then in the end of the second episode, you find out the grandson, is helping her too. I was like, oh no, she's going to get made, right? She's going to get made because she's not going to be at this, rinky-dink apartment in Queens. And boom, she is. And she is really putting a lot of effort into this. Like I said, renting or buying this apartment. She has money, but still, she could be spending it on charities and other things. And she's spending it on this house and furnished. The place was furnished. She asked Olympia to come in. I mean, it wasn't just a front. It's an entirely furnished apartment with picture frames of the grandson and everything. So definitely she's going to great lengths to prove. But you know what? They say a woman scorned, also a parent. I mean, this is a mama bear. Her daughter died. She wants justice for her daughter. So when she said that at the end about the justice, I was like, all right, I got it. Yes. You can definitely tell, like, the justice at the end, like, okay, wink, wink, everybody deserves justice, just like my daughter, and I'm gonna either nail you, your ex-husband, or your ex-father-in-law to the wall when I figure out which one of you partners knew about that drug and it wasn't taken off the market. So yeah, I definitely like that little punch in there. So yeah, very, very exciting, great episode. I feel like if this is going to be a trend, I'm going to be looking forward to those last, couple minutes of every episode. If it's kind of going to be one of these little surprises with Maddie. So I definitely liked the way that ended, and I definitely enjoyed watching with you. I'm glad you were able to, review it with me, and just kind of, make sure you subscribe so next week we can watch the episode together and discuss it. So until next time, bye.